The Survival Guide to Life.
Oh, wow.
Hey everyone, how's it going? We got another episode of the Survival Guide to Life. And this week we have Ash. Now, she's a LinkedIn instructor as well as a YouTuber from the channel Laughstashtv and DIY Film It Yourself. I took a couple of the LinkedIn learning courses and I was really intrigued by her outlook and kind of just wanted a deeper insight on her methodologies and like how she got into it. So I wanted to thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So just right off the bat, Ash, how long have you been making YouTube videos?
I've been making YouTube videos. I think I started my first channel in 2013, around there. So I guess like 7 or 8 years now. But I mean, that was when I first started making YouTube videos. I was making videos. I've been making silly videos since high school with like a mini DV camera. So a long time.
Okay, so back when like you still had to use like the little tapes that you
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I even remember when like YouTube first started, my sister was watching it, but she was only using it to watch like wrestling reruns. And it wasn't even,
Oh,
yeah, this was like when it first started, it wasn't even that big. And then like now it is like what it is now. So,
yeah, it's crazy.
then what kind of made you transition from the, I guess, like just doing it like recreationally or even as a hobby and then more transitioning towards YouTube?
Yeah, well, I've always wanted to be a filmmaker. And so in high school, at first I wanted to be, I was kind of like interested in theater and drama. And so I was taking that. And then in high school, I started taking a video class, a video production class. And I was like, oh, I love this because I was an artist and a writer, and it was a way for me to combine everything. And so I really early on in high school decided, like, this is what I want to do. I want to be a filmmaker. And so I went to film school. And then, right away out of film school, I got a job at lynda.com. And I found I was like a little frustrated because I was like, it's hard to make films by yourself. Also, I focused really heavily on directing because I wanted to be a director. I mean, I am a director, but at the time when I was in film school, I also still wanted to be a director. And so I didn't learn how to use a camera or cinematography in film school myself. I just really focused on the directing, writing end of things. And I really regretted that because then I came out of film school and then suddenly I was like, well, I want to still make films, but I don't have a camera or anything. So then I got together this small group of friends who all worked with me at lynda.com, and we started making silly videos for YouTube because I also have a passion for comedy. And I had done a 30-minute film as my like thesis film for film school, and I had done the film festival circuit with it. It's called Hold Up, and it's on my YouTube channel. And I just found I was really frustrated because you get into these film festivals, and as a no-name filmmaker, you'd be lucky if like 10 people showed up and to your screen. And so I was like, okay, but I don't feel like I'm reaching as many people as I could. So that kind of inspired the idea of like, well, on YouTube, you can reach millions of people. And it's way cheaper than me flying to New York to sit in a screening with only 10 people to see my film. So that kind of inspired the YouTube path.
I think that's what's been really paramount, or like kind of disrupted society, and how big and how universal YouTube is. And
Mm-hmm.
but it really made me sort of think about like the analytics side, and like what really makes a video go viral, and like
Yeah.
all these little things that are like little components, and
Mm-hmm.
coming towards that, and towards when you started your channel towards where you're at now. um have you seen like a major shift in like the way YouTube works?
Oh, totally. I mean, like you said, when it started, it was just like, here's this weird clip of my cat or something, like they weren't really like, they had no video production to them when YouTube started. It was just like, here's a funny video of this moment. It was much more like almost documentary style, where it's like, I just captured this funny moment of my kid or whatever, like the Charlie bit my finger video. And then it evolved, and eventually people started making shows and doing web series. So like Felicia Day is really credited with the Guild as being one of the first major like web series. And that changed the game. And then over the past, I want to say like, well, then it went from web series to like shows where people like the Hot Wings show, or like Red Pepper Gaming, where it was like this repeatable format show that people could do over and over again. And now in the past couple of years, it's really shifted again to vloggers. So it's really mostly vloggers are like the main content on YouTube now, which is disappointing me as a filmmaker, because I wish it was more, the other content that was more produced. But now it's more, vlogging content, or learning content is the other content that's the new shift I see YouTube going towards, is a lot of people are going to YouTube to learn things.
Yeah, you're completely right, and I feel like that whole sort of like movement or transition into learning things is that with what's going on now and what's been happening, it caused a lot of people the need to like pivot or like transition in their occupation. So it
Mm-hmm.
forced them to learn something, and being at home, I think like the best thing, or like the most easiest, was to use something like YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, totally.
then from that, and like making just funny videos or like comedic videos, two things: have you ever thought of going into stand up? And the
Uh, I actually I wanted to be a stand-up comedian when I was really, really young, like elementary school. And I don't really know what put that into my head, but I've always my whole life had a really strong passion for making people laugh. Like I love making people laugh. And I love probably also being the center of attention. um, so I do remember thinking that. And then, as time went on, I used to be kind of a little shy, I think, when I was like a kid, or just really insecure about my looks, a normal teenage girl. And so I didn't really like I took drama, and I was doing drama from like middle school to high school. And I was even in like the high school plays, but I hated seeing when people would show me footage. I hated seeing myself. I just hated it. And I couldn't stand it. And so I sort of diverted and started being more behind the camera as the director. And since graduating film school, I have taught myself how to use, the cameras and cinematography and lighting and all that, and have developed a passion for that. And then what's so funny is I've come back around again, where now with my new channel, Film It Yourself, which is my filmmaking channel, I do the funny, and in the LinkedIn learning courses, I'm in front of the camera and I'm acting. And so I've come full circle back again. But I did think, I have thought about doing stand-up. I don't think um I don't think I have a tough enough skin for it. Like the idea of being on stage and bombing is so terrifying to me. But I talked at VidCon, not last year, but the year before. And it was the first time I'd ever talked on a stage with that many people. There was like over 700 people in the room. And I was terrified. And but I made a joke and everyone laughed. And in that moment, I was like, oh, that feels really good. So I think I would enjoy being a stand-up comic, but I don't know if I could handle the hundreds of nights of bombing that you probably have to go through, to evolve to the point where you have a strong set. I have the utmost respect for stand-up comedians. I have friends who've done stand-up. I have friends who do improv comedy too. That I'd probably feel more okay with because you have like other people there to support you. It's not just you on stage, but the thought of being alone on stage terrifies me for sure.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. Like, it's a different style, and I could see how being like a director or in that aspect, how you can still have your comedic like out like release and still like have your sort of like themes, I guess, like how Tarantino has his own like theme that you see in every movie. Like you could have like your comedic theme and everything. So
Yeah.
with that, and
I
then
usually, like, when I record the sketches for those videos, those tutorial videos, like I don't even have my boyfriend in the room. I'm like, you have to leave so that I can do it and not feel judged.
so okay, yeah, I guess the little things like that like help. That's what I was gonna ask. So like, say someone who has to now make YouTube videos for maybe their company or just like for other companies, say they're not confident, and if they were trying to build this confidence, like how did you build it from like you being
Mhm.
that shy girl to now like making these videos?
Yeah, well, I will say you're gonna have the initial gut reaction of, I hate hearing my own voice, or I hate seeing me on camera. And once you edit yourself a few times, you get over that. After, so what to be on the other end and help people. And it's like, one thing is like, just make sure you're relaxed, make sure you're comfortable as you can be. If that means that you need your boyfriend or girlfriend or whoever or your dog to leave the room because they make you uncomfortable while you're doing this, then that's fine. Make sure you're in the most comfortable space possible. I personally love talking with my hands. That makes me feel more comfortable. And smiling makes a big difference in my opinion too, because if you're I'll be having a bad day and I'll have to be recording, and I have to remind myself, like, I love doing this. Like, if you love it, then show that you love by smiling and having a good time. And then the other tip I'd say is, I actually use a teleprompter. So if I had to do my tutorial videos or any of my YouTube videos without like some sort of teleprompter, I'd be terrible. I'm not good at memorizing. This is part of the reason why I would be a good actor or stand-up comedian, because I can't remember anything. So I recommend getting a teleprompter and getting used to reading off the teleprompter. Like, write your scripts beforehand. Even if you don't want to write it all the way out, you could just have little bullet points. But having that helps me tremendously. And then all I have to do is focus on reading the teleprompter and acting like out loud as a practice run, and then do it again and record and maybe do a couple takes. It takes practice over time. Like I said, if you look at like my most recent video versus my first, LinkedIn learning video, like there's and also, another thing is finding the most comfortable posture for yourself too. Is you necessarily, for me, I prefer standing because I feel like I have more energy, and you'll see over time, you'll be like, oh, I'm doing this weird thing. Like I used to do a show with a friend, and he, after watching them over and over, he's like, I'm always looking down. I'm not looking at the camera, So after a while, he started to look at the camera and started to get, figure out these different things. But yeah, it just takes practice. Doing it over and over again really helps.
Okay, and then like with your channel, and how do you sort of get ideas, or how do you sort of keep up with like being innovative and creative?
Yeah, I know my fans like, hey, is there something you want me to cover? Like recently somebody asked me like, hey, can I do a video about green screen tips? Because I was like, hey, that's a great idea. But when it comes to Laughstash, that's usually just, it used to be, I was trying to do all these different types of shows with Laughstash. And now it's mainly just when I do a film or a sketch or something, I'll put it on there. I don't post content as regularly on that channel anymore. But I am planning on hopefully doing more live streaming on that channel and maybe doing some D&D live streaming, but we'll see. That's up in the air at the
Okay,
moment.
that'd be cool. No, it's that's interesting. You said that
Mhm.
they asked about the green screen and stuff like that. I've been like working on like sort of like using AI to sort of help with that, and like that way you can sort of
Oh,
have like a creative sense, like have a bunch of people, like in a world that separates us physically, bring us together digitally, and,
mhm.
and like
Yeah.
say like for example, if I was here, like you,
Oh, nice.
so
Uh-huh.
I would have you like in a green screen, and then like bring you in and like sort of chroma key into you on a chair. So I've been trying to
Mhm.
work on that. So
Oh, cool.
hopefully I can get that.
Oh, yeah. Very fun. Yeah, you've got all different sets.
Yeah, I've been trying to work on it and like study. Like, yeah, I've only been sort of like recording and doing stuff like continuously for maybe like 5 or 6 months, but it's been going pretty well. Like
Oh, wow.
I looked online, and then like before I was like on the 10th page of Google, and now I'm like on the first as like the result.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Congrats.
Yeah, and then it said it was like
Wow.
top top 5%. And then I've been working with this doing like marketing for a company called Billionaires and Boxers, and they make podcasts for businesses, but now they got an opportunity to do like global TV and global radio.
Oh.
So I thought that was pretty
Hmm.
cool. But what they asked me and sort of kind of made me think was, do tags matter so much in how much your video would get out there in YouTube?
Question. It's a little hard to answer because YouTube doesn't really say how much tags matter. They're a little secretive about it. But what I have found through doing tests and research is the best way to rank for a tag is to actually say it in your video. So what I do is, and I actually just went over this in a new LinkedIn learning course that I don't think it's out yet. I just turned it in,
Mm.
but it's gonna be called Learning YouTube SEO. But the best thing you can actually do is say the tag in your video. And so what I do when I'm writing my scripts is I will do research, and I will find the tags that I want to use before I even record the video. Really good tag, and I'll be like, okay, you can do. And then if you've set in your video, and then you put that tag first in your title, and then you put it as your first tag, then like number 1 or 2 for some of those tags where I've done that. So that's the best strategy. If you just try to fit in tags after the fact, like after you've recorded the video and you didn't really say them in your video, you might rank for them, but you might not. You know, like if they're related to your content.
Wow, that's like a golden boulder, not a golden nugget.
Yeah,
So
definitely. It took me a really long time to figure that out, honestly.
someone was just saying that Google has this technology where like they can hear the, but it kind of makes sense like that they could hear the words you're saying, because if they have like technology like Google Home, or like looking at your phone and saying, okay, Google, I'm pretty sure like even the video. So that
Mhm.
in that sense, like the transition we've come into in like a technological like aspect is pretty crazy.
Yeah, definitely. It is crazy.
So then with titles, would long or short titles be more effective? And then I see a lot of people using like that straight line like sort of symbol. And is there a reason for using that in between like different, like it'll be short mini titles?
Oh, like the pipe
Yeah,
symbol? It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
this,
yeah.
right? Yeah, okay. I think that's just a way for them to like sort of just sort of section their I can't say the word, their title. Uh, so it's like, you know, if you had a show and you were like you would put the episode name and then maybe you would put the pipe character and then you would put the name of the show. So that way the keyword of the show helps them rank and search if someone was just looking for the show or whatever. So that might be that, I'm guessing. Um, for length, let's see. For length, you want to have your title between like 20 and 70 characters. And that's because anything less than 20 characters isn't really like descriptive enough. And anything over 70 characters is going to get truncated. So like it'll be too long and then you'll just see like the ellipsis, like dot, dot, dot. So it'll get cut off kind of thing on like a phone or whatever. So it's practice is between 20 and 70 characters for your title length.
Okay, 20 and 70 characters. So then when it comes to like cameras and like equipment, some people sort of like get
Mhm.
held back in saying that, okay, I don't have a great camera. Would you sort of say like just starting out, like using your phone's fine, or when do you sort of really need to like transition into like using something like a DSLR or something a little more professional?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I have the newest iPhone because I got it for Christmas and it's incredible. Like it's nuts. Like the using the camera on your phone is totally okay because the cameras on phones nowadays are amazing. Like it's really amazing. In fact, for I used to do some vlogging content on Laughstashtv, and I would just take my phone because I could just put it in my purse. It all fit in there. You know, I had a little shotgun microphone and I had a little case for it that the shotgun microphone could attach to. And I could just easily whip it out and like shoot a vlog just with my phone, which is incredible. So, I mean, it's always been sort of a filmmaking, you know, rule that like that I think applies to YouTube videos too is as long as your content is good, you know, if the quality of your video isn't like a red cinema camera, like that's okay. Like if the story you're telling, whether that's through a vlog or a how-to video or whatever, if it's good information or a good story, then it doesn't matter necessarily the quality. So I definitely, yeah, I say start with your phone, start with whatever you have. Um, for the longest time, I was shooting with a Canon 7D because that's just what I have. What you're doing, you might not need like the highest, nicest DSLR. Like a lot of the vlogging cameras are like little point and shoots, like the Canon G7X, I think it's called, is like this really great little point and shoot camera that, and I have some friends who they started, their channel is called Natalie and Tara Try Stuff. And they started with that, just the little Canon camera that I think is only like $600 at the time when they got it. It was like a G7X Mark II, I think, Canon, and their stuff looked great. And it's like, it's just a little point and shoot camera. It doesn't even have removable lenses. But at the time when they started, it was like a little bit better than a camera phone. And it only recently, like the past year or so, they now have quite a big fan base just with this other little point and shoot camera, no problem. So if you're vlogging, a little point and shoot camera might be perfect for you. If you're doing more filmmaking stuff, you probably want, you want sexy B-roll. You probably want a DSLR where you can put different lenses on it. It just depends on what you want to do. But you don't necessarily need like the biggest and best, most expensive camera out there. It just depends on your needs. Like if you're vlogging, then autofocus is probably really important to you. But if you're shooting like the content I do, I never use autofocus. I shoot all manual. So, it just depends on what you're doing.
Okay, that makes sense.
Does that help?
Yeah, that helps a lot.
Oh, good.
Then, like
A potato.
What was that?
I guess. I was as coming questions that I asked all the guest speakers. Like the first one is like, say that you're watching this video a year from now, and you want to tell yourself something, sort of manifest something or speak something into existence. What do you want to tell your future self?
Oh man, so many things probably. Number one, hang in there. Hopefully things will be better. I don't know. We'll see. It could be worse, future me. Looking back on this and be like, you don't know how good you had it back then. I don't know. I feel like every year has been that way lately. But as far as like things I want to manifest, like I'm really hoping to shoot a feature film. That's the next goal for me after doing several short films. So I'm hoping that by the time I would watch this in a year from now, that I either would have shot or be in production or post or pre-production for a feature film, hopefully.
I could see that. I could see for some reason when you said that, I thought of like maybe like a collab with like Kevin James or something.
Oh, yeah.
So the next question
That'd be cool.
Is 2 truths and 1 lie. So you have to tell me any 2 truths and 1 lie, and I have to guess the lie.
Oh, okay. I have red hair. Yeah, okay. Oh no. So stressful now. I'm Irish and oh no, I have to think of the last one. And I have a cat. I didn't give you much to go off of there though.
Your hair is red.
Yeah, that one's kind of tricky because technically red is not my natural hair color, but
no,
I feel like I messed that one up.
Okay, so I thought that one was the lie, so I got it wrong.
Oh,
so you
that was a good, yeah. I don't have a cat. I don't. No, I have a dog.
Yeah, I should have known. Like, you would have had your cat in your LinkedIn running as well if you had.
Right.
So, and the last thing is, if you could end on a quote, like any quote that you like came across maybe this week or recently that sort of spoke to you.
Ooh. Yeah. Actually, so I do a podcast called Let's Rewatch, where we watch movies that we loved in our youth and see if they still hold up. And we recorded an episode last night and we watched The Dark Knight, which is a very good Christopher Nolan film. And the Joker had a line in that film that I was like, oh, I really like that as a freelancer, because I am a freelancer. But he said, if you're good at something, never do it for free. And I was like, ooh, that's a really good quote. I like that one.
I actually like that. I like that one too. And you said it's Let's Rewatch. Your
Yes.
Oh,
Hmm.
okay. So,
Yeah.
and then I guess
Hmm.
lastly, could you just end with like your social handles? So if anyone who's listening in wants to connect with
Sure.
you or like see more of your content.
Yeah, so you can see my Dash TV, and that's Stash, like a stash of laughs. So it's ST channel is called Film It Yourself, where you can see fun filmmaking tutorials. And then I'm mostly active on Twitter, where I'm at Ash's Stash. Again, it's STASH. So it's ASHSTASH. It's so confusing. Twitter is really where I'm most active, and I do fun things like I do this thing called Movie Quest, where I live tweet reacting to films that I'm seeing for the first time. So it started as Marvel Quest because I embarrassingly had not seen like 99% of the Marvel movies until quarantine started. And so I was like, you know what? It's the time. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to watch them all. So we watched them all and I live tweeted them all. And I do silly pictures with my dog where we try to pose like the cover art for the film and we have like silly costumes. Don't count on it every Friday. And then I'm also on Instagram at moose_ash. Just Google Ash Blodgett and you will find me on all the platforms. I'm the most internet famous Ash Blodgett. So if you find the one, the other ones aren't me.
There you go. Thank you again for your time,
Yeah.
for your insight. I appreciate everything.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you doing this.
Physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, consistently.